Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Cecilia, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you've joined us for our next live presentation from IsoEnergy Limited. Please note, you can submit questions in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Tim Gabrook, President, CEO, and Director of IsoEnergy, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol ISENF and on the TSXV under the symbol ISO. Welcome, Tim.
Cecilia, thanks very much. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity. So I'm going to go through the presentation of IsoEnergy, and really it's a little bit different than what we've done in the past in OTC. We've recently been going through a transaction, purchase of consolidated uranium. We're merging the companies together. In fact, we're very close to closing that transaction probably tomorrow. So this will be the last time you see this combination of slides, but really we'll give you an overview of IsoEnergy consolidated and what we're doing to bring the companies together. Our view is to create a leading diversified uranium company that's focused on the world's top uranium jurisdictions: Canada, the United States, and Australia. So I'll jump right into it and look forward to any questions that anyone might have. Typical disclaimers: there are forward-looking statements, so please be aware of that. And just getting straight into it, the rationale for this transaction is that the company that we are building, we believe, is built for the current uranium market. It's going to have high leverage to rising uranium prices, which we've already seen substantially over the last number of months. It's going to be focused on production. We're going to have a goal to build a globally significant multi-asset, multi-jurisdiction uranium producer. And have a complementary project base. So a full suite of projects in these top tier jurisdictions that I noted, really Canada, the United States, and Australia, with global exploration potential. So we are a big explorer of uranium in northern Saskatchewan as IsoEnergy, which I'll get into more. But this exploration will expand into other jurisdictions. We're bringing together what we believe is an outstanding leadership team with demonstrated track records in all facets of uranium exploration, development, and operations, and the industry itself, the nuclear industry. And we have an extremely strong shareholder base. So along with this transaction, we have raised $36.6 million through an equity financing. That was led by some of our current shareholders, are very important shareholders. NextGen, who up to this point has just over 50% of IsoEnergy, but we'll reduce that shareholding a little bit, and I'll get into what the final makeup is. Energy Fuels and Mega Uranium are shareholders of Consolidated, and they've also stepped up and provided financing through this transaction. And also, I note Sachem Cove, which is a very important uranium nuclear investment fund. If you know the sector, you've heard of Sachem Cove, and really it just reiterates what we've been saying, is that we've got these great shareholders that know the industry, they know the company, and they continue to provide great support as we go through this transaction. So we think that's a great sign of that support. We will have an enhanced capital markets profile, so we'll grow in size and scale. And we'll rank among the top publicly traded uranium companies in the world. And we'll continue to build what we believe is a bigger uranium market presence. So we have a lot of experience, a lot of folks with expertise in the uranium market, myself included, and we'll take the opportunity to get more involved in the commercial nuclear fuel market as we go forward and as this transaction finalizes and we take the company into 2024. I won't spend too much time on this, but just generally with respect to the market, and most of you, if you're watching this, are I'm sure following the uranium market. It's had a lot of interesting, positive. There's a positive growing narrative around nuclear, as most people know. Obviously, it's become very clear how crucial nuclear is going to be in the fight against climate change. You can see on the right hand side where the price has gone over the last several months alone. We're up to over $80 a pound uranium, and you can see that there's a significant shift, and a lot of that is around the geopolitical shift that's happening, issues in Russia and the impact that's had to the global nuclear fuel market as they've invaded Ukraine and been in there for the last few years. It's really causing a bifurcation of the uranium market. We've got Russia, Kazakhstan, maybe Uzbekistan, and others. There's concerns about supply to other parts of the Western world. Niger, the recent coup that's happened in that country has added additional supply uncertainty to the market. And then you've seen things even just this last week, just really incredibly at COP28 in the UAE. You have 22 really important countries pledging to triple nuclear capacity by 2050. So that includes the United States, France, UK, Sweden. You've got a whole list. Canada is included in that, of course, and others. And then even those that aren't involved in that statement, China continues to grow at a massive rate, including 7 units gaining first concrete just in this past year. Incredible, uncovered requirements in the market going forward. So over the last number of years, there's been not as much long-term purchasing done as people are probably aware. But when you see that number, 2.3 billion pounds uncovered in the market through 2040, and you haven't had a lot of investment into new projects and production. Obviously, all the stalwarts of the industry, the Cameco Ranos are there, and the Kazatomprom, but you need new production. You need new projects that haven't been moved forward over the last 10 years in order to help fill that gap down the road. And so there's really, we believe, exciting times ahead. New production is necessary, and IsoEnergy, we believe, will be very well positioned to participate in a meaningful way to help bring that supply to the industry. With respect to the transaction itself, just briefly, we will acquire 100% of the shares of Consolidated Uranium. The consolidated shareholders will get half a share for each IsoEnergy, or half an IsoEnergy share for each of their shares. Roughly, the ownership will be 2/3, 1/3 is where it falls out. There was a shareholder vote just held. It says here, vote on November 28th. That did take place. It was overwhelmingly in favor of confirming the transaction, and the close is expected to happen on December 5th, tomorrow. So we're proceeding with that right on schedule. We're putting together a great team. I'll get more into it. There's a couple more slides, but we're combining the teams. We've got a good mix of 4 of our existing board members going onto the board. Consolidated will put on 2, including Phil Williams, and we're combining management teams. We have a lot more work to be done, and we've got some incredible experience on both sides of the company, and so we're combining that, and I'll have a slide on that as well. Again, just the pro forma capitalization. I mean, the important thing is, again, IsoEnergy will be made up of, we'll have substantial shareholders still contributing in a significant way. NextGen will maintain a very important 34% share of the combined company. Energy Fuels will still be in there with 5% Mega Uranium, and overall will just become a company of greater scale and size with great shareholder support. Like I said before, we believe this is built for the current uranium market. We just got sort of a checklist of some of the things that we come to the table with as a combined entity compared to some of our peers in the industry. If you look at things like past production with the potential to restart, having a high-grade portfolio, exploration discovery focus, diversification of assets, geographic diversification, and then exposure to those markets, which we really hear more and more through the industry. The Canada, US, Australia, these are the geopolitically stable, secure areas that it'll be important for companies to be involved in order to bring production forward. So if you look at that, it's really the only company, once we're combined, that checks all of those boxes and really brings all of them forward with very low geographic risk. So we're very excited about how this company will be able to move forward in the existing market. When you look at the projects, we can have a little bit more detail on each, but really, we begin to have a very global portfolio. The little offset here to the side, to the right on the Athabasca Basin, these are the ISO projects that we bring to the table. More than 20 projects in the mostly the eastern Athabasca Basin, including our flagship La Rock East project, which is home to our Hurricane deposit I'll talk about. But then you look at some of the other projects brought in by Consolidated. We've got some exciting projects in the United States, in Virginia, and throughout Utah, which is an important uranium jurisdiction in the United States. We add projects in Quebec that are great projects I'll talk about. Also a little bit in Argentina, which is not as core to us, but some interesting ideas around how we will manage those going forward. And then Australia, we've got a sort of a platform or portfolio of projects there that we'll look to build and grow on going forward. So it really is a focused production strategy. We've got sort of this line or this timeline of different types of projects. We've got these call options. Coles Hill, Matouche are Virginia and Quebec projects. Really great projects. They have some impediments to moving forward historically, but we think we're in an environment that we have a lot of ability to move those forward in the future. We have some good pieces of equity holdings in a few other companies that provide value to IsoEnergy. Exploration, we'll continue to explore in the Athabasca. Those are incredibly important assets to us, but we'll also expand into places like Australia. Argentina has some exploration potential and some non-core assets in the U.S. as well. We also are in the development side with Hurricane. We have this great deposit I'll talk about that we're moving forward on the development scale on the timeline. So that's important to be a developer. And then we have this near-term production potential. These projects in Utah, in the United States, Tony M, Daneros, Rim, these are all permitted mines that have the potential to be brought on line in the right conditions in very quick fashion. We'll also continue. It's sort of in these bringing together the DNA of these companies. We'll continue to evaluate other additional M&A opportunities across all the stages of these. That's on this slide here, and continue to grow the company that way with projects if they make sense. With respect to IsoEnergy specifically, again, 20 very high quality projects in the basin. We have the Hurricane deposit with an indicated resource of 48.6 million pounds at 34.5%. It is the highest grade indicated uranium resource on the planet. But we have a lot of other highly prospective exploration properties we continue to work, including Hawk, which is one of our favorites, East Rim, Ranger, Trident, lots of conductor corridors there under very shallow sandstone cover in the southeast part of the basin. Evergreen and Spruce, these are more underexplored projects that we have that are also in that southern part of the basin with little sandstone cover and a lot of conductors and limited drilling in the past. And then other projects we've done work on, Geiger, numerous intersections of weak uranium and thin sandstone cover, and still a lot of work to be done there. And we're still very excited to continue to move that project forward. Just focus one slide here on Hurricane itself. Again, 48.6 million pounds at 34.5%. It's quite shallow compared to a lot of other projects in the basin, 325 meters from surface with no ground water at the surface. Infrastructure, we're located in that prime eastern part of the basin with roads and infrastructure of power. And we're also only 40 kilometers from Orano's McLean Lake Mill, which has potential to be very strategic for us. Mining method, we're looking at different innovative mining methods this is a smaller deposit compared to the McArthur Rivers and Cigar Lakes of the world. But there's a lot of work being done on how to tackle smaller projects using more innovative techniques from surface generally that would reduce your capital, no underground development, that kind of thing. And we're looking at a lot of interesting work being done on that and to focus in on the right mining method for Hurricane. There is an interesting border. We're up against the border right on with Cameco and Orano on their Dawn Lake project. So the highest grade part of the project is right on that border. So there's a lot of work being done on that other side by Cameco and Orano. So down the road, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and certainly potential for discussions on those projects down the road. We continue again to advance Hurricane, where we've undergone high-level concept studies to look at mining method evaluation, and we're also looking at potential to further grow the resource. We've got a great exploration team with our VP of Exploration, who will become the Executive VP of Exploration and Development, Daryl Clark, who only came on this year and has really taken a clear kind of unobstructed view of Hurricane, and we're looking at it in a little different light, and we do realize there is additional potential there. This is just a graphic of one hole we did this summer, really to just expand that southern part of the deposit. So we got some good intercepts there on that one hole, 8.5 meters at 4.1%, 23% uranium for a meter. So that will help just expand that part of the deposit over to the border. The Hawk project's another one, just lots of highly prospective targets. We're working on a very innovative technology using seismic technology called ambient noise tomography. We did a lot of work on that, sensors on the ground to kind of get a good look underground using sound waves, and come up with a lot of good data that's helped us to identify some other potential areas of exploration for that project. So we'll continue to advance that. We've had lots of great results so far, and we'll have follow-up drilling as early as the winter season coming up here in January and beyond. Utah, again, this is something that Consolidated brings to the table. Some great historic projects in that very important part of the United States as far as uranium production is concerned. More than $100 million dollars has been spent on capex in these projects in the past. They have 43101 mineral resource estimate on Tony M, and state and federal operating permits in place, which is key. It just means you can bring these on in very quick fashion. And there's a toll milling arrangement, which is the other very key part of this with Energy Fuels. Just down the road at their White Mesa mill, all of it can be trucked there. So lots of exciting stuff there as the market is continuing to turn, as Energy Fuel looks to restart its mill. We're looking at how the plans ahead to bring these projects back into production in the not too distant future here. Coles Hill, another one very exciting for us because this is the largest uranium deposit in the United States. It's in Virginia. It's been under a moratorium for development for several years, but we feel like we're entering a time and basically an environment for nuclear in the United States and globally where we have a good opportunities to advance this project. So Virginia is already home to 4 nuclear reactors. It's not an anti-nuclear state. It's got commercial nuclear fuel production in the state, and there's infrastructure and a long history of mining in the state. So we do think there's a great opportunity here, and we like this project a lot, and it's something we think and we hope will bring great value to IsoEnergy going forward. Matoush is another one, great project in Quebec. Also, there's ongoing concerns with community issues and just being able to move it forward with in partnership with the communities that are in that area. That hasn't been possible in the past, but we believe we're also bringing great skills and just an approach, I think, that will over time and go through all the discussions and the building relationships that we need to advance it with those communities. We also have great partners like NextGen that have demonstrated that they will take projects forward, doing it the right way environmentally to the highest of standards, and we'll be able to bring that to the table as we have those discussions and hope to move those projects forward in the not too distant future as well. Global exploration, we'll continue to look at exploration in other areas. Argentina is one of them, but also even more importantly, probably in Australia, Queensland and South Australia. Lots of work to be done there, but very exciting to have this opportunity to go into those jurisdictions. again, like I said, we will bring 4 of our existing directors from IsoEnergy into the company. Richard Patricio will become our chairman. Lee Currier, who's many of you know is the CEO and founder of NextGen, he will become a vice chairman. Just recognizing other draws on his time, but still a very strong interest in continuing to participate in a very big way in IsoEnergy, which is great for us. Chris McFadden, Peter Natupsky will stay on the board. Phil Williams, the CEO of Consolidated, will come onto the board, as well as one other Kerr nominated, who will be Mark Raguse. The slide hasn't been updated, but he will join from Consolidated. Just with respect to management, again, we're combining this. We've got lots of work, and we've got all these skills and very lots of folks with great experience, and we want to leverage all of it. So Phil will step in as the CEO of IsoEnergy. I will remain as the president of IsoEnergy. We'll have our CFO Graham DePria continue as CFO. Daryl Clark will be our executive vice president of exploration and development, coming from the VP of exploration role at ISO, and Marty Tunney from Consolidated will be the chief operating officer. So a great team with enormous experience and a lot of people to work on advancing projects across, like I said, Canada, the United States, and Australia. So just in summary, again, the combination of IsoEnergy and Consolidated Uranium, the plan is to create a leading diversified uranium company. And we really want to be focused on multi-asset exploration, multi-asset development, and restart in these top jurisdictions. We have an impressive suite of projects with substantial current and historical resources now within the company. We're focused on a global production strategy, so in the United States, but also advancing projects elsewhere. We have this complementary project base that we bring together. So, really Consolidated wanted to get into Saskatchewan in a big way. We wanted to diversify into other areas, and so it's just a very complementary combination of organizations. The leadership team, again, all with proven track records in different areas of operations and finance and the industry, and just a great coming together of the teams. Enhanced capital management, and capital markets profile. The size and scale will just help us participate in a bigger way in the market and lead to increased ability to finance. And good global exploration potential, not just in Saskatchewan now, but in Australia and the United States. And hopefully, again, growing a uranium presence with this growing size and scale of our company, and a lot of expertise to kind of lead the way in that. That is really it. I've got a few minutes left here, I think, to answer some questions. And so I can just bear with me as I go through a laundry list of questions on the side, and try to answer a few of them. The first one is, what will your share ownership look like post-acquisition? Do you expect to retain the major shareholders from both organizations? The answer, I'd say, there is yes to the latter. Again, as I mentioned before, NextGen will continue to be a major shareholder, 34%. Impact on the board, participation there, very engaged in the success of IsoEnergy, so that's positive. Mega Uranium, and Energy Fuels, these were key shareholders on Consolidated. They will continue to be shareholders, and as I mentioned before, they also participated in the equity financing. So not only want to continue supporting, but we're hoping to grow their position by adding to that financing. So all very positive. Again, can't really stress enough, these are folks that know the industry. They know the industry very well. They've participated through the ups and downs. They know ISO and Consolidated very well. And the fact that they want to continue to be such strong supporters, I think, speaks volumes to what they think of the company going forward. Other than integration with consolidation, what are your key milestones for 2024? Look, we've got a lot of things on the go. Big one, we'll go back right into the field in January. We'll continue to explore northern Saskatchewan. We're continuing to advance some engineering work, and some sort of development work on Hurricane. We're also looking again to explore at Hurricane and see if we can expand that resource. At the same time, we'll focus a lot of efforts on Utah. As I mentioned before, Energy Fuels, who we have a milling arrangement with, they're looking to move that mill into production. When that happens, we have the ability to bring ore from those Utah sites, and so we're looking at the work and moving down the path of what work is necessary, what's the timeline to bring some of that near term production in Utah into play. How did you come to acquire the right to Coles Hill? Is it a brownfield project? Coles Hill was part of Consolidated. So Consolidated purchased that project a couple of years ago. So they owned it. So when we purchased Consolidated, we took on Coles Hill, which we believe is one of the greatest assets there. It's just like I said before, it has a moratorium on development of uranium in that state, but it's at a time when you have bipartisan support for nuclear in the United States, which is maybe one of the only, or at least the few bipartisan issues or topics in the United States. We think that's a good indication. We know with everything happening in the geopolitical side of things, there is growing interest on expanding production in the United States for its own domestic reactor fleet and for the fleet of Western reactors that may see some issues down the road with supply from Russia, from other countries in that part of the world. So that is a project that we are very interested to advance. And I think that's probably it. I think the other ones are kind of offshoots of those first couple of questions. Look, if anyone has any other questions that come up or want to discuss this, you've got contact details here on the slide. Myself, Phil, going forward, we're happy to talk anytime. And I just want to close it up there. Thank the audience, thank OTC for the opportunity, and we look forward to a very exciting 2024 as we combine these companies. Thank you.